Hey guys, this is Eastern Cat Indeed Out. Welcome to a series I'm going to call Let's Talk, and we're going to talk about the Kantai Winter 2016 events. So I did this one a little bit before for the previous event, but we're going to do it properly this time. I've actually written out my talking points this time, so unlike other videos you'll probably see, this is not going to be any gameplay. We're just going to talk about the focus points of each map, so that even if you aren't as stacked as the people's videos you probably end up seeing, you can still think about a way to go around how to do it. So, to start off, we're going to talk about the enemy fleets, because that's probably where you should actually start by looking. Right, so, we're on the Kantai wiki. This is where we're using our information. This has been gathered for about, event started maybe some 12, I don't know, it's about some 15 hours ago. So this is pretty much preliminary information for about a day's worth. The event's actually pretty easy, so you shouldn't worry about too much. So let's talk about the enemies in the first map. This is on hard, so we're on hard here. My cursor is actually on the screen, so you can't see me swinging my mouse around, but the things you need to know are, first, the boss is the Submarine Princess, so you're did E4 in the last event, you'll recognize her. There's no armor debuffing this time, so don't worry too much about that. You just have to blow her the hell up. So, another point of focus about enemy fleets. So let's talk about the general trend that goes through all of the enemy fleets. Number one, there is absolutely zero air power. So, basically, you will be bringing a carrier along so that you can have the Scion, I think that's how you pronounce it, so that you don't have the red T-cross, because as we know, if you've done 1 to 5, having a red T-cross basically means you cannot kill the boss. So, that is fact number one. Number two is there are no heavy cruisers, battleships, and of course no enemy carriers because they have no air power. Which means, for the most part, you're fighting with small fry. That also means you'll be bringing a battleship for second shelling. You will not need your AP shells. Well, chances are you won't need it. If you really need them, I don't know why. But you will not be needing heavy firepower for this. Okay, so we're going to talk about the focus of your own fleet now. Looking at these enemy fleets, there's a couple things we need to think about. One is how much anti-sub power you're actually bringing. So we know one slot is taken up by your battleship for your second shelling, so that's not much anti-sub power. A second slot is taken up by your light carrier, which also doesn't provide the most anti-sub power. So your last 4 slots require you to bring basically destroyers and light cruisers. You'll want probably fully stacked out anti-sub warfare equipment to blow them up. So we scroll up to the top here. The general recommended, where is it? Here we go. Recommended compositions require your aviation battleship, of course, so that at least your battleship can help with the shelling on the sub. The Scion on your light carrier to avoid the red T and also help with this anti-sub power. And then you want to fill up your last 4 slots with destroyers, light cruisers, and training cruisers, because they're your general anti-sub power. Okay, so after that we can talk about the equipment. Basically, battleship and carrier pretty standard. You don't need fighter planes. You can literally win the air battle with just your seaplane bombers on your aviation battleship. The main focus here is on your destroyers and your cruisers. So, if you haven't really done much with subs, this is the basic fact you need to know. Equipment, anti-sub equipment, 10 times more effective than anti-sub stats. Anti-sub stats help, but without the equipment, you do jack shit. So, simple matter, the more anti-sub equipment you can stack on, the better. Which is why, as you can see from the wiki, they actually suggest you use 4-slot cruisers, basically your training cruisers, and also Yubari and Oyodo, who also have 4 slots. If you don't have them, don't worry. I'm actually doing it with a couple of destroyers, and that works perfectly fine. You can do enough damage. I am actually using 1 4-slot, but I don't think that's the deciding factor, so don't worry too much about that. And then, last thing we can talk about for this map is the drops. So, I actually looked at this before. Someone had I-401 on here, but I guess that's not on here anymore. That's actually kind of random. There's not really much of noteworthy except for Oyodo, probably, and depending on how much you want the more rare destroyer drops. That's really about it, honestly. So nothing too much of note to talk about for the E1 drops.